Portantino. AB 144, item number 4.
Where do you want to go?
You don't want to stand up?
Oh, since I have a co-author, I'll sit. That's okay.
All right.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members. Mr. Amiano and I are joint authors of AB 144, and with your indulgence, we would both like to present this bill. I want to begin by thanking the committee staff for their assistance in drafting the latest set of amendments, which were taken prior to the hearing and make the bill stronger and clean up some of the technical language. AB 144 seeks to close a loophole in current law which allows individuals to openly carry unloaded handguns almost anywhere in California. Specifically, this bill will make it a misdemeanor to carry an exposed and unloaded handgun in a public place, while providing a long list of reasonable exemptions for law enforcement, hunters, rural residents, and individuals participating in parades or lawful and permitted demonstrations. As many of you have experienced in your own districts, the absence of a prohibition on open carry, which I call a loophole in California law, has created an increase in problematic instances of guns carried in public, alarming unsuspecting individuals and causing issues for law enforcement. And that's important, because this bill was introduced at the request of law enforcement because they don't want their members put in unnecessarily tense and potentially dangerous situations. In most cases, when a person is openly carrying a firearm, law enforcement is called to the scene with few details other than one or more armed individuals are present. They don't know if those weapons are loaded or unloaded. It also diverts their attention away from other duties and other potentially alarming situations on Main Street, California. These situations, open carry creates an unsafe environment for all parties involved, the officer, the gun-carrying individual, and for anybody, families, or anyone in the area. And additionally, the increase in open carry placed on law enforcement has tax departments dealing with understaffed and these tough budgetary times. We're joined in our efforts by my colleague Tom Amiano, who is a joint author, and law enforcement, gun violence prevention groups across California in saying this loophole should be closed. Frankly, you do not need a weapon to buy a cheeseburger or a cup of coffee. You need an ATM card or a $5 bill. The family out on Main Street, California has just as much right to exercise their rights, privileges, and freedoms and enjoy our wonderful main streets as everyone else in this state. Respectfully, I ask for an aye vote, and with me I have Chief Ken James and Randy Perry, I believe, is also here from PORAC, who would like to testify, and Mr. Amiano would like to say some words as my joint author.
Okay. Thank you very much. Yeah, to me this takes the term accessorize to an extreme. The only reason the person would openly carry a firearm is to use it or to make people believe they would use it, and to me this is an act of intimidation. Instead of resolving conflicts, intimidation has a way of nurturing conflict. The very fact that a person is showing their weapon can escalate an otherwise minor problem into a violent and tragic one. It seems to me that the opposition to the bill assumes that quick access to a firearm prevents crime. In fact, a person who gets angry and has a firearm at the ready is far more likely to cause violence than if a firearm wasn't readily accessible. In an age of violence and terrorism, the last things we need on the streets are more guns. I'm proudly a joint author on this measure and urge an aye vote.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My name is Ken James. I'm Chief of Police of the Emeryville Police Department. I'm here today representing the California Police Chiefs Association. Our members are responsible for the public safety needs of over 78% of California's population, and we strongly endorse this bill. As Assemblymember Portantino said, this is a waste of public safety resources and puts our officers in high-risk, high-intensity situations unnecessarily. Additionally, this is a public safety risk. Open carry requires no qualifications under the penal code to put on a gun as long as it's unloaded and visible in a holster on the belt. The unfortunate thing about that is that we are restricted from even checking to see if these individuals are prohibited from carrying. So somebody an ex-felon could strap on a gun, and all we have the ability to do is check to see if it's loaded or unloaded or not. We can't run their name for prohibited status or any of those things. So in that sense, the public is a danger for this. So as I said, the California Police Chief urges your aye vote.
Thank you. Others in support?
Madam Chair, members, Randy Perry with Aaron Reed on behalf of PORAC. We co-sponsor the bill. We'd like to thank both authors for bringing it. Our concern, obviously, is the potential danger to our peace officers, but it's the public and lack of awareness by the public of what is happening when that person walks in with a firearm visibly shown that has our concern. Thank you.
Thank you.
Amanda Wilcox on behalf of the 22 chapters of the California chapters of the Brady Campaign to Prevent Gun Violence, and I won't repeat the statements you've already heard. Just one point to add is that though current law provides that an exposed handgun needs to be unloaded, there is no law prohibiting the carrying of ammunition on the person or on the belt in the pocket, and it is well known that the handgun can be loaded within a matter of seconds. So it's essentially a loaded gun or easily loaded handgun in public. We support the bill, obviously.
Good morning. Ben Van Houten on behalf of Legal Committee Against Violence in strong support of the bill. I won't repeat the public safety concerns that warrant the bill, but just to briefly discuss the constitutional and legal arguments that are frequently made. AB 144 does not present a Second Amendment issue. The Supreme Court has held that the Second Amendment protects the right to possess a firearm in your home for self-defense. There is no right to carry a gun in public. AB 144 is completely constitutional.
Good morning, Madam Chairman, members. Lieutenant Wayne Billowin on behalf of Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department for all the reasons stated. We're in support of the bill. Thank you.
Madam Chair and Senators, I'm Jim Boats on behalf of the Police Officer Associations from both Long Beach and Santa Ana, also the Deputy Sheriff Associations from Orange County and Sacramento County, the LA County Professional Peace Officers, and the California Fraternal Order of Police, all in support.
Thank you. You did well without a mic.
Madam Chair, members, Alex Esparza on behalf of the City of Los Angeles and the Los Angeles Police Department here in support.
Thank you. Are there others in support? Are there speakers in opposition?
Are you ready?
Yeah, we are.
Okay.
Thank you.
My name is Elena Hellman-Toller, and I'm from Responsible Citizens of California, NorCal Open Carry, and a whole bunch of the open carry groups here in Northern California. I regularly carry a handgun on my side, and I invite you all to come to one of our meets Saturday from 10 to 12 at 1900 Contra Costa Boulevard. We do it every Saturday. You can see it's a crowded place. It's not a problem in public. We didn't know whether to support or oppose this bill, honestly. You have 29 loopholes in this bill that will allow for most of us to continue to carry. It also loosens the school zone requirements, so we'll be able to carry within the school zones a lot easier. And this process, in the way that it's written, will allow for a faster access to concealed weapons, less training, and it will allow us to be able to carry more freely a loaded firearm in public. Imprinting is not illegal, so you're still going to see the guns. However, now they're going to be loaded. Concealment will be so common that with imprinting, and the police are not able to just come up and check anybody because that's a civil rights violation. Right now we have what's called a 12031 e-check, where it's a civil rights violation in which the law enforcement is allowed to come up to you and check your firearm whether or not it's loaded. That will no longer be an issue under this because those guns will be loaded and concealed. Guns will be a more common factor in our society. We'll have more of them, more ability to protect our public because of it. Open carry will have to move to more densely populated areas where schools are, such as San Francisco, Dublin, Los Angeles. That's because under a 626.9 exemption, this will allow us to open carry a firearm, but only within school zones. That was pointed out at the previous levels. Let's see. Thank you.
Thank you.
In
Others
opposition
in
to the bill.
opposition?
Hello, members of the Senate Public Safety Committee. My name is Walter Stanley. I live in Senate District 9, Chairman Hancock's district, and I wanted to address some of the concerns that have been presented by the supporters and the author of this bill. First off, open carry being a loophole. I'd like to start out by saying the Second Amendment right to bear arms was found to be a fundamental and individual right by the U.S. Supreme Court in 2008 in District of Columbia versus Heller. In June of 2010, the United States Supreme Court found that the fundamental Second Amendment right to keep and bear arms was incorporated and made applicable to the states and localities by the Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment. That case was McDonald versus Chicago. So in short, the Second Amendment guarantees individuals protection against federal, state, or local infringement of their fundamental right to bear arms. Beyond that, California Penal Code Section 12025 addresses carrying a concealed firearm, while Subdivision F of that same statute expressly declares that, quote, firearms carried openly in belt holsters are not considered concealed within the meaning of this section, close quote. Furthermore, California Penal Code Section 12031A1 prohibits people from carrying loaded firearms on their person, while 12031E authorizes police officers to, quote, examine any firearm carried by anyone on his or her person in order to determine whether or not a firearm is loaded, end quote. And 12031J1 provides for the carrying of a loaded firearm for preservation of person or property. Article 1, Section 1 of our California State Constitution reads, all people are by nature free and independent and have inalienable rights. Among these rights are defending life and liberty, protecting property, and pursuing and obtaining safety. With all of these specifics related to openly bearing arms, I don't see how anyone can make the claim that it is a loophole. Other concerns which were brought up today were that open carriers have no training. Pursuant to California Penal Code Section 12071B, any person who acquires a handgun must obtain a handgun safety certificate. In order to obtain a handgun safety certificate, a person must pass a Department of Justice written test on handgun safety. The test is even given by a Department of Justice certified instructor and covers everything from basic handgun safety to preventing misuse tragedies to the use of lethal force. A safe handling demonstration must also be performed prior to taking possession of any handgun in California. From my own personal experience, open carriers that I have met are well trained and train often. After all, we have to. Being prohibited from carrying loaded firearms puts law-abiding residents at a tactical disadvantage in comparison to the criminal element who disregards the law and carry their guns loaded. This plain and simple fact of the matter motivates open carriers to practice and to train to help level the playing field. Third,
Excuse me.
I'm going to wrap it up, Senator Hancock. I'm trying to go through this. I just want to address some of the things that were said. So third, one of the other concerns that were presented was that open carry wastes public safety resources because police officers have to check firearms to see if they're loaded. Well, California Penal Code Section 12031E authorizes peace officers to examine firearms to determine whether or not they are loaded. The language of this statute does not mandate or require officers to check weapons, so the claim made by the author and the supporters of this bill that police have to do anything is false. I actually, by way of a public record request, requested the open carry policy from Chief James's department. This is a special order specifically written by him. And in regards to the claim that open carry wastes law enforcement or public safety resources, I say simply this. In Chief James, in his open carry policy, the role of the dispatch is specifically covered in subsection C. And it says, the dispatcher will obtain as much information as possible about the demeanor, behavior, and activities of the persons carrying the firearm. The information will help determine if this is an open carry situation. The dispatcher will confirm that there is no brandishing, assault, or other unlawful activity in process, as well as whether or not the firearm is concealed and the current location of the firearm. The intent is not to change our current practices or procedures of how we gather information or what information to gather, but rather to try and probe further in order to determine if this is an open carry or a man with a gun call. The two are different. Obviously, information is critical to determine the appropriate tactics. So, underneath the role of the officer, Ken James also points out officers are expected to appropriately assess each situation and respond in a safe manner that respects citizens' rights. They are also required to impartially enforce the law and demonstrate the utmost professionalism in their conduct. So, in closing, also, one other thing, with the 12031 E-check, I have Livermore Police Department, that's in your district, Senator Hancock, and they say this contact should be a brief, unobtrusive interaction as officers only have legal authorization to detain the individual for purpose of the firearms inspection. So this is something that should be taking place quickly and only at the request of law enforcement themselves. So if there are resources being wasted away, it is solely at the fault of the police chiefs and the police departments, not the open carriers who are acting within their rights and abiding by the law. 20 more seconds and I'm done here. I appreciate you bearing with me, senators. Okay, so the fourth and final concern, open carry scares people. Now, I'm a reasonable individual. I open carry every day where permitted legally to do so. And I will admit to you all here today that there are some cases where people may feel uneasy at the sight of a firearm. Now, my personal experience, I would say that that is a super minority of the individuals that actually feel that way. For the most part, most individuals don't notice at all. But those who do notice seem to be intrigued about it and actually feel comfortable approaching me and asking me questions about the law. And I always carry pamphlets that, provide information and stuff because I believe that it's a good thing when law-abiding citizens are out there carrying protection and acting within their rights. So I would recommend a no vote on this bill for these specific reasons. A lot of the supporters have used misinformation to push this bill through committee, and I would like a thorough evaluation, and I would be happy to submit these documents that I obtained through Public Records Act requests to the Safety Committee because I feel that this bill needs to be looked into deeper and assessed appropriately.
Thank you, and we would be happy to accept all of your testimony in writing. That would be helpful to the committee. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.